My Destined 1, Tensura x Arifureta by Void Kane. Ch70. Welcome and engagement party night fell, in one corner of the Imperial Castle, which was now shrouded in darkness. Two soldiers patrolling the perimeter of the buildings leading to the prison. Something like a torch burns brightly in their hands, and they pay special attention to dark places to guard against intruders. It seems that aristocratic party is being held around this time. I bet they ate all kinds of delicious food. Oi, stop talking nonsense. If anyone hears that, I'll be punished too. The soldier's sigh mingled with his grumbling as he looked towards the light emanating from another place in the distance. Although both men were frowning in intense concentration, their expressions were troubled about another matter. It's like, it will get hotter if you keep your mouth hot, in their minds, both men groaned. Even so, you came here early, you want to join the party this much? Well, even if it's allowed to attend, it'll be a problem if there's no money and a female companion. That's right. After eating and drinking, they'll play with the ladies until morning. It's like heaven. Instead of pointless patrolling. I want to cuddle women. The rabbit woman looks good. You like rabbit human women, don't you? Even though the other demi-human women have a good figure. The only thing you think about when you go to the brothel is the rabbit human. That's because they're the best when threatened. Their cries are soothing. What a sick hobby. What are you talking about? Don't you think the rabbit people always give out auras? Please make fun of me. I'm just fulfilling their wishes. You even played a lot of them at once. Can't be helped, their cries are really beautiful. The two guards looked at each other with amusement and began to laugh crassly. In the Empire, demi-humans were seen as tools of unchanging truth. They can relieve stress and satisfy desires with a variety of tools. So, although these two are special cases, if you don't take into account their sadistic blood, it can be argued that it is natural that all Imperial soldiers tend to humiliate their partners. Then, at that moment, a soldier cried out and made an expression as if he had just seen something strange in the dark corners of the buildings. Oi, just now, there was something. What? While holding the torch in front of him, the soldier walked toward the hidden corners of the buildings. The other soldier also followed while suspiciously calling out to him. He began to say, "Who's there?" But there was only a gap between two buildings that barely fit one person in. He turned the torch toward the opening. However, there was no shadow that he saw just now. Am I seeing things? He muttered and let out a sigh. Then, he turned his head to look at his comrades with a wry smile. Excuse me, I was second. Oi, Maul? Where are you, Maul? His comrades weren't there, rolling around on the ground with only the torch that the other man was holding earlier. Where did he go? He glanced around, however, there was no one in sight. Then he felt a chill run down his spine. Fear began to rise in his chest. The soldier picked up the torch he accidentally dropped due to his ignorance and kept calling his comrade's name. Oi, Maul. Don't joke, girl, Gu. At that moment, without a sound, two arms reached out from the gap between the two buildings that had clearly been empty just now. A hand clutching the cold black blade that even sucked in light, reached out from the darkness. At the same time, one arm caught the soldier's mouth, and the other plunged the blade into the medulla oblongata of the guy. In the blink of an eye, the convulsing soldier's body slowly relaxed and the strength left him, then his body was pulled by two arms into the darkness. And before anyone noticed, the torch he was about to pick up evaporated, leaving only the warm evening breeze gently blowing. A small whisper from the darkness carried through the wind. HQ, this is Alpha. Controlled Point C, Alpha, this is the HQ. Clear. Move to Point E, there are 4 guards. Gorilla from the west. HQ, this is Alpha. Roger. After whispering, 2 or maybe more people clad in black from head to toe began to move one by one. Even though they covered their faces with black cloth, their eyes remained open for observation, a sharp look. In addition, they had 2 short swords hanging from their backs. If a Japanese or any modern people saw it, they might say, there's a ninja. However, even though it is not possible to identify each person, unfortunately, their identity can be easily discovered. That's because on top of the sealed head are 2 raised rabbit ears. No matter how they looked, they were the rabbit people, the Howlia race. They were hiding in the shadows and hidden corners of buildings. They quietly turned over there and saw 4 guards divided into 2 groups. A hand gesture from the Halias signaled to the 3 people behind who had called the HQ just now. The 3 of them nodded at the same time and stepped back. They disappeared into the darkness as if completely melted. After a few seconds, from the direction of the designated location, Chica, a soldier's line of sight suddenly changed direction. And the light flashed. They didn't even enter the guard's line of sight, but at the same time, in the blink of an eye, a Halia unlatched a small container. Inside it is a green light stone, which can be used as a stun bomb. The Halia saw the signal to start moving while gesturing to the 2 people behind him. The 2 soldiers lost track of each other. They covered their presence and quickly closed in. One covered his mouth and arrowed the soldier while the other stabbed into the man's medulla oblongata, and the other also stabbed the soldier's kidney. The other soldier while simultaneously restraining him with one hand and knocking him to the ground. The other person picked up the torches that the soldiers dropped, extinguished it, and confirmed that there were no traces left. Then they quickly dragged the bodies into the shadows of the buildings. However, as expected, after a while there was no movement from the other 2. The remaining 2 guards shifted their sights. 2 of their comrades were no longer there. Not even the light of the torch, just darkness. "Where are you?" The 2 soldiers looked on with suspicious expressions and saw a dark figure moving slowly in the darkness. "Looks like something big is being dragged away." "What is it? It's dangerous." One soldier reached for the siren hanging from his neck. In the next instant, a knife was thrust into the soldier's neck, and without even a second for him to feel pain or scream, his consciousness faded into endless darkness. The guy next to the whistle-bearer suffered the same fate. At the same time, their torches were extinguished and their bodies were dragged into the darkness of the buildings. Currently, similar assassinations were taking place all over the imperial palace. Many sentinels in pairs or more have experienced the permanent separation of their souls from their bodies. Soldiers sleeping in the barracks have been drugged in the sea of trees. Even if the siren sounds, they will sleep until morning and their health will be restored. The waning moon in the sky gradually turned dark. It's a wonderful moon. It seems to appear on the 2nd day of the new lunar month with another name called Futsukazuki, sometimes hidden, sometimes visible. It was the devil's smile. Those who submit to the powerism that rule all and trample the weak seem to be completely mocked by the moon looking down on them. HQ, this is Alpha. Controlled for the H4 score. HQ, this is Bravo. Controlled all at point J. HQ, this is Charlie. Finished dispersing anesthetics into the barracks. HQ, this is Echo. The prince, the crown prince, and the 2 princesses have all been arrested. At the flashy banquet hall, Hajime and Rimuru had absurdly unusual smile on their face and was talking to an imperial noble. Then they heard Halia's report passing through their head one after another. The banquet hall is quite large. Many places are decorated splendidly. It was set up buffet style, with hundreds of dishes and desserts laid out on a long table covered with white linens, and skilled, dapper waiters walking about while elegantly serving glassware for guests to drink. All the people attending the party were the elite of the empire. Can only be seen people wearing elegant clothes with the bold, seasoned atmosphere of politicians and soldiers, military people who take on a proud appearance because of the principles they worship. The military only stood there timidly, able to see that the soldier possessed a higher status. Rimuru and Hajime were conversing with the soldiers. After all, both of them are considered the apostle of God, and are in the party of heroes to most people. They are strong people who participated in the conquest of the great Orcus labyrinth, a force necessary for this world. Power seems to be the default existence that attracts the interest of the people. Surname. Of course, there is also the implication of wanting to create a good personal relationship with them. It must be said first that the people who were conversing with the 2 brothers had no secret motives at all and seemed to focus their interest on the girls who were standing next to them and hadn't left half a step since the party started. Apparently, they had glanced at Chloe and the girls who were standing behind Rimuru while talking to him. The same goes for you and the others that are on Hajime's side. However, it's just too absurd. This was the party to welcome Princess Liliana, which was also her engagement, the presence of Chloe, you, and the others rather than the splendid flowers decorating the party. It felt like they were the main protagonists of the party. Shia wore a short dress that showed off her slender and beautiful legs. However, there was no vulgarity at all, because the soft part of the skirt spread out, creating an atmosphere that enhanced Shia's lovely figure. The dress also matched her beautiful long flowing hair, elements that made her more lovely and elegant. Beside her, Tio gracefully tilted her wine glass. She was wearing a long black dress that resembled her usual black kimono. However, because the dress is a body-hugging type, she possesses flawless curves. Moreover, because the back and bust of the dress are cut quite deep, it shows off the beautiful hills. Nothing compares and feels like they will burst at any moment. The eyes of the clear-eyed men have been focused on it ever since. They were seduced by the deadly pair of weapons, the women accompanying them one by one casting disgusted glances at them. Kaori wore a slim dress that completely exposed her shoulders. Even though her curves weren't as sharp as Tio's, everything was harmoniously molded from the hand of God. Her legs peeking through the deeply slit skirt like a Chinese dress called cheongsam, along with her sparkling silver hair, all add to her voluptuous appeal, and involuntary eyes turned towards her. And Hajime's favorite character, his beloved princess, wears a wedding dress. The fabric of the dress was shiny, her shoulders were perfectly exposed, and the hem of the skirt has ruffled. The skirts were designed to be short in the front and long in the back. She wears her hair in a ponytail with a white flower adorning the tie. She is the least exposed person, but her white neck and cherry-colored lips dotted with red lipstick attract a lot of eyes, and her eyes are sparkling and hidden in them the heat, which is stimulating. Irresistible male lust. As always, Yu's charm came from the gap between her childish appearance and the enchanting atmosphere that had been enhanced several times by her. Sakura wears a pink dress with ribbons on her hips, and her short pink hair match perfectly with her dress. It also brings up her charm to the next level. Seal wears a red dress with long fur on her back. It also had white decorations on the side of her hips. Her blood-red eye matches her red dress. Seal uses Shizu's look just show how beautiful she is while wearing a dress. Just imagine it's Seal using Shizu's body with blue hair. While Chloe wears a white dress that shows her slender body figure and brings out her charm. Just imagine it's Chloe, Hajime and Rimuru waited for Chloe Yu and others to finish changing, but when they entered, it couldn't be helped that the minds of the two brothers were stolen by their absolute charm and they were completely dumbfounded. Especially Hajime was completely glued to Yu. Anyone who saw him now knew that his heart was completely stolen by her. Yu also understood that. She looked into Hajime's eyes with a bright smile. Meanwhile, Rimuru is having a nosebleed because of the beauty of his fiancée. And he praises them and kisses them. Meanwhile, Hajime rushed over and hugged Yu tightly and kissed her passionately. Now both men and women in the room were dumbfounded. But the reasons were different. After that, they forcefully separated Hajime and Yu, who were stuck together, which later became known as the event. Hajime's mind was blown away. Do you know whose engagement party this is? Nay, you know what? By the way, Akame, Shizuku, and Suzu also dressed up, and they were also gorgeous that can stand alongside the daughters of imperial nobles. Even so, Rimuru Dono and Nagumo Dono's comrades are all beauties. That's right. I'll invite one of them to be my dance partner. HQ, this is Delta. The detonation points are prepared. HQ, this is India. Controlled point M. With the half-hearted words of the imperial nobles, the two brothers smiled at them as they heard the telepathic reports that reached their ears, and the entrance of the lobby began to heat up. Looks like the time has come for Princess Liliana and Prince Bias to begin the procession. A person who looked like a politician loudly introduced the appearance of the two. Zawa. The figure of Liliana in a dress that appeared at the entrance was opened to its full extent, and the people in the hall let out a cry that was a mixture of surprise and embarrassment. It was because Liliana was wearing a jet black dress that seemed to put out all the lights. Normally, considering Liliana's appearance and the content of the engagement party, a light-colored dress would be more appropriate. Because of that fact, I'm here to mess up. This emotion showed on her innocent face. The dress is jet black as a wall that Liliana had erected. Her fiancé Prince Bias too, with a slightly sour expression, as if he had just chewed on a bug. No matter what it looked like, this was not a happy picture of a couple getting married. When the banquet hall began to fill with applause, it was a very complicated atmosphere. Just like that, the two walked up to the podium. The chairman allowed the ceremony to continue even though everyone was still confused. Looking at Liliana and Bias's appearance, Gaharudo almost burst out laughing as he greeted them, and music began to circulate in the lobby. That was when the circle dance between Liliana and the guests began. Elegant tunes resounded in the lobby, sweeping away the previously suffocating atmosphere. In the middle of the hall, the male side began to take out flowers and dance freely. Although completely forced, Bias and Liliana also danced. Liliana's facial expression changed mainly based on the atmosphere. Even if Bias approached, she kept a small distance from the music. Like that, when a piece of music ended, Liliana quickly moved on to the next person in the dance circle. Bias had an angry expression on his face, but he needed to continue maintaining the circle, in a state where he was delicately wary of his crotch. Actually, just waking up a few minutes ago, he didn't have time to question Liliana about what happened before the party started, and no one else knew what happened. For some reason, his little boy no longer felt anything, feeling restless and angry because there was nothing he could do right now but follow Liliana when nothing could be done. Anyone else knows anything? HQ, this is Romeo. Controlled point P, HQ, this is Tango. Controlled the R point. How should I put it? It doesn't look like Lily at all. She often hides her intentions. Kaori mumbled as she saw Liliana replying to her greeting casually without even smiling. Ma, things like impossible huh? Haim-san must have a lot to consider. Yeah, he sure does have a lot of things to consider, Rimuru replied. Many things. You and the others began to feel confused by what Hajime said. Nagumo-kun, did something happen to Lily? Oi, Yagashi. What do you mean by that? Shizuku was wearing a long red dress and looked suspiciously at Hajime. Because, Lily is showing that kind of attitude in public. If something crazy happens, it must be Nagumo-kun's or Rimuru-kun's fault, right? That's already the rule for everyone. What's happened up until now? The truth is, you seem to know something. Oi, leave me out of this, will ya? Rimuru said to everyone as he continues to enjoy the party with his fiancée. TCH, it's hard to refute, but I didn't do anything this time. It's just, I happened to save Haim-san when she was about to be raped by the next prince, Hajime said. EHH, is that so? Lily was raped? What? Wait a minute, Hajime-kun, what did you just say? Everyone in the group looked at Hajime in surprised. Rimuru and the others are not excluded from the surprise. From the moment the dance started, a lot of troublesome guys came to invite you and the others to dance. Although you and the girls had no interest in dancing with anyone other than Hajime, currently, they were all chased away by Hajime's suppression. Elsewhere, so only you and Shia were around him. Rimuru gives deadly glares to the people who wanted to dance with his fiancée as if saying, dare to approach and you will be dead. Which lead to other guys backing away. Also Chloe, Seal, and Sakura have no intention of dancing with another man except for Rimuru. And Shizuku was just enjoying being beside Rimuru. Kuki was forced to dance with the ladies and was dancing desperately since he did not know of it, while Ryotaro was just eating intently. Suzu danced with an old dandy with a echo. Akame is also eating next to Ryotaro, but she didn't talk to him, instead just looks at where Rimuru is. Do you like him? Ryotaro asked Akame. What? Akame replied, averting her eyes to look at Ryotaro. Well, I mean, you look at him that way and you didn't realize that your face is all red. Akame, hearing Ryotaro's words, became even redder and she tried to compose herself but failed miserably. You should just be honest with your feeling. I know it's weird that these words are coming from a guy like me, but I'm not stupid about love, you know, Ryotaro said, and for once in a while he isn't the muscle brain. Do you also love someone? Akame said. Well, I do like someone, and once all of this is over I'm planning to confess, Ryotaro said as he looked at Suzu. Then I'll cheer for you, Akame said. Yeah, I'll cheer for you too. And those of friendship was created between the two. Back to Hajime and the others, everyone heard about Liliana being raped and Hajime, who wanted to escape from Kaori, and Shizuku asked you to dance. That's why. Do you want to dance? I'm honored. Wait a minute, Nagumo-kun. Don't hide just because you find this troublesome. Explain it to us. Yes, that's right. This is an important thing. Explain it clearly. As Shizuku said, Hajime thought explaining would be troublesome, held Yu's hand, and tried to hide in the middle of the hall. Meanwhile, Rimuru decided to also dance with each of his fiancé, and the first one to dance was Chloe. Somehow, attention was focused on the girls with beautiful faces like a work of art and their dance partners. One has a white-haired boy and the other had long bluish hair with a blindfold instead of Liliana, the character main part of the party. Chloe and Rimuru dance elegantly that even the Nobel of the Empire was surprised. Of course they will, since Rimuru and Chloe are both royalties in Tempest. This reminded me of our first dance, Rimuru-san, Chloe said while smiling. You're right, I will treasure those memories, Rimuru said as he looked into Chloe's eyes as they continued to talk about the past and continued to dance. Meanwhile, Hajime had to keep up with Yu, who was familiar with royal dances, and led her. Hajime used light speed while dancing. From the moment they openly danced in front of a crowd, he wanted to look proficient. Seeing Yu's expression was like someone filled with happiness, and Hajime's eyes looked at her tenderly, matching their outfits too. From the outside, this was completely an engagement ceremony between the two people. Even though the musicians were still doing their best to warm up the awkward atmosphere in this place just now, they used the atmosphere that the two couples brought to play music happily. At that time, the center of the dance floor was Rimuru and Chloe, and also Hajime and Yu. All of them focused their gazes on the four happily dancing around. Looking at the four, Liliana smiled faintly, and there lies the color of jealousy as well. On the other side was the group of girls pursuing Hajime, and possibly more people would appear soon. Liliana temporarily put aside the events that just happened in a corner of her mind. Who's next? Now was the battle for the second person to dance with Hajime. The dance would soon end, and passionate applause had been given to two pairs, Rimuru and Hajime lightly kissing their partner on the lips while the imperial nobles looked at them with smiles. In their eyes, it was pure emotion of admiration and praise. The daughters of nobles too. Ho, Yu, they unconsciously gasped. The four lightly bowed in return and returned hand in hand to their comrades. Looks like Tio won and will be next. She looked at Hajime with eager eyes, and Rimuru also danced Sakura. However, Tio's eagerness was easily betrayed. Nagumo Hajime-sama, could you please be my dance partner? That's right, it was because someone else called out to him. That person is Liliana. Haim-san. The main character of this party is separated from his dance partner. Why all of a sudden? My role was taken by someone. Isn't that a bit too much? What's with that determined face? Really, wouldn't it be okay to leave the crown prince alone? If it's about the circle dance to celebrate, it's practically over. Now is the time to enjoy the party. From the beginning, we were meant to dance with a few people. Look, next Prince Sama is dancing with one of his mistresses. My dear, you don't seem to mind, huh? Fufu. That doesn't matter. I want you to hold my hand soon. Can't you dance? Hajime noticed that not only did Liliana want to dance but what she was going to say. He could vaguely guess what she wanted to say. With the thought, what should I do? He scratched his cheek. Honestly, he wanted to continue to bask in the glorious moment with Yu. Then, looking at Hajime who was hesitating, Yu standing beside him said, Me. It seems she meant not to embarrass Liliana in public. Yu understood that Hajime hesitated as to what to do, meaning that the decision was up to him. Ah, I see. Nice to be your dance partner, Haim-san. Yes. It seemed they drew attention, because of Hajime's unusual behavior as he obediently took Liliana's hand and led her to the center of the dance floor. The dance with Yu just now was probably still lingering in their minds. Liliana had a slightly embarrassed expression and her attention level increased significantly. By the way, during the time Liliana interjected, no one cared about Tio, who froze, because she stretched out her hand for a long time. This timing, it's come ha. No matter what you do, by the way, I understand Goshujin-sama. She said with those blushing cheeks. Sight. You're really a pervert, Seal who is standing next to Tio said while she also waited for her turn to be danced by Rimuru. The melody of the music resounds gracefully. Liliana and Hajime pressed together and their bodies swayed to the music. Liliana whispered while her face was close to his shoulder. Thank you very much for what happened earlier. As I thought, as expected. You already know. What a crazy situation, can't be anyone but you, right? Besides, your crimson is so pretty. I can't be mistaken. Is that so, Ma? The eldest prince was also hit by it. Just a bit of a temporary effect. Sooner or later. You just say it out loud. But, even if it's just your experiment, I'll be happy. I've heard Kaori talk about you and your brother saving her group. I'm a bit confused too. Such a desire. She said that as her face left Hajime's shoulder with a smile. It was her permanent charming smile, completely incomparable to the face she showed when standing with Bias earlier. The surrounding nobles who noticed it started to make a fuss. And, a lot of things happened to make you choose that dress and attitude, right? Doesn't it suit me? Pretty fitting. But, it's true that the pink dress suits you better. You're going to use that to denounce, right? Yes, because that's worthy of the kind of husband who rapes his wife. Moreover, you've seen it all through the spider, haven't you? My body. Hey, I can't be a bride anymore. Yo. Then, what are you talking about? Hajime looked at Liliana, who was burying her face in his shoulder again and pretended to be depressed. Although it's just a whisper, don't say such rare things here. Besides, weren't you too close to him just now? The successor prince made a very impressive face there. Isn't it good? Once tonight is over, I'll be the next princess. So just for now, let me be a girl. And, one day I'll be raped. Will you have mercy? A little for the selfishness of this poor mistreated princess? Being raped, there's no guarantee you'll be bullied. That's already a reality. Then Liliana, while hiding her feelings by clinging tightly to Hajime, suddenly muttered something as if it was just a coincidence. What would I do if I told you to save me? Liliana herself did not intend to hear an answer on this. It is necessary to enter into a marriage relationship with the future prince of the empire. Both countries were damaged by the surprise attack from the demonic beast force brought by the demon race, demonstrating the power of human solidarity to stabilize things now that the temple has been destroyed. Disappearance is essential. As a member of the royal family, she had to take on that role. A prime example is the painful, destructive marital life that awaits her. But she still asked Hajime such a thing. Her voice trembled in fear from the bottom of her heart because assuming the salvation she longed for didn't exist, seeing how happy Yu was being held by Hajime, she thought for sure Hajime would say, "I refuse," and she was mentally prepared for that possibility. It was because she thought there would be nothing wrong with being selfish just this once. However, Hajime's answer completely exceeded her expectations. "Ma, before I help you, will you be saved? In this case, the Empire is hopeless." "Yes, HQ, this is Victor, controlled point S. HQ, this is X-ray. Controlled the Y point." Liliana instinctively raised her head to look at him, and the corner of Hajime's mouth was raised. She also got a look at Rimuru, who is having the same expression as Hajime while dancing with Sakura. Both of their expression was too obvious and a bad premonition rose in Liliana's mind. The delicate atmosphere just now vanished, and Liliana felt her cheeks shrink. Hajime quickly brought his lips close to Liliana's ear. "Besides, if you think it's going to be simple, since I'm quite emotionless, I might do something careless." Liliana's body twitched once. Through her warm breath and voice in her ears, she understood Hajime's intentions. "In other words, I will save you." Liliana's heart beat instinctively. The princess inside Liliana began to scream. "This marriage is a responsibility to be fulfilled. That's why I want you to get rid of the girl holding those dreams immediately, already." Why? In a way, reacting to the mean treatment, or perhaps because of the rising joy, her eyes filled with tears as she looked at Hajime, he still acted as if nothing was there. "What happened?" Then he replied without even seeing what the atmosphere was like with the worst possible answer. "Haim-san is so badass for making them have negative feelings." Hajime said that and looked towards Kaori and the others. In short, their purpose was not exactly for Liliana. Even though Hajime said that Liliana instigated it, he also seemed to be implying not to harm my important people. Liliana guessed that and looked straight at Hajime. "That certainly isn't a joke, even though this is your intention, right? I would definitely fall into that situation. So what will you do if that happens? From the beginning, you just have to think that the worst outcome you can infer won't happen. As long as you remain an important friend to the girls. That's what she is." Nagumo-san's thoughts don't waver at all, huh? "Indeed, I feel jealous of you, san." Liliana looked at Hajime with an annoyed expression. Hajime still didn't mind that and looked back at her. And finally, the song is about to end. Hajime didn't falter in the slightest, and Liliana finally gave up. Phew, she exhaled and leaned towards Hajime. She intended to at least enjoy the dance even for a moment. And with a long hum, the music stopped. Liliana reluctantly pulled away, and for a while still held Hajime's hand while silently looking at him. "Thank you," she whispered. With a smile as lovely as a blooming flower. Just the smile of a 14-year-old girl. A smile so pure that it didn't contain any negativity. It pierced the hearts of all who were watching. A gasp could be heard somewhere. And, after a while, passionate applause that was not inferior to dance from earlier just now resounded. It seemed that Liliana was just casually dancing with the others because she simply needed to. Hajime separated from her and returned to his place alone. The girls' gazes greeted him. "Hajime-kun is a girl killer. Hajime-san, it's just that since when? You can't relax your guard." "No, Goshujin-sama. I'm a little wet because you left me alone. Can I change my underwear?" "This has something to do with the rape mentioned earlier. You said something about saving Lily when she was in danger. You also planned to deliver the decisive blow in the meantime. Dance right." "Nay, what exactly did you whisper in her ear? In the first place, wasn't Lily a married girl? Do you understand?" "Nay, you understand. Nagumo-kun." Quote. "Hawawa, Nagumo-kun. You finally got the title of Netori. You're too mature. You far exceeded Suzu's ability to comprehend." "Ha, they are a lively bunch," Rimuru said as he looked at Seal, who is pouting. A dozen comments including perverts were mixed together, with that, looking at the group of girls who were talking bad about him to Liliana. "What are you guys talking about?" he said with a surprised expression. Course. Hajime started talking. He just happened to help Liliana, then the dance was just because he was asked. In the end, since Kaori and the girls would be worried, he just told as concisely as possible how he helped Liliana. He also had no intention of convincing them to believe him, and if there was a 1 in 100 million chance that Liliana would fall in love with him. Hajime only had the feeling of, what if I don't care? At this moment, just to be sure, he turned to look at Yu so that she wouldn't misunderstand. Yu understood and willingly held Hajime's hand while nodding his head. Indeed, Yu was different from other girls. His love has no boundaries and has gone beyond this universe. It must have been his imagination when Yu's fist was tighter than usual. HQ, this is Zulu. Controlled Z score. Attention to all forces. This is HQ, all arrangements are complete. Prepare for the countdown. Shia's face darkened a bit as she listened to the conversation. Kaori was also slightly serious expression. Rimuru and the other girls just smiled and ready themselves for the show. Shizuku and the others were not given telepathic stones, only looking at the two girls with suspicious expressions. On top of that, Gaharudo stepped out of his seat, stood in front of the stage and kept looking at Rimuru and Hajime and the others. Looks like it's time for him to speak and toast. Now then, first of all, let me express my joy that everyone has come to celebrate Princess Liliana's visit to our country and also my son's marriage ceremony. There have been quite a few unexpected things all of a sudden, and they've really turned into a fun event. Then Gaharudo turned his gaze full of meaning to Rimuru. Rimuru pretended not to know. Gaharudo's expression seemed to realize that and became even more amused. At the same time, a determined voice came out from Rimuru and Hajime's telepathic stone. All soldiers. This is Alpha 1. From now on we will put an end to the persecution we have endured for hundreds of years. We will engrave our names in the history of this world. Our name will represent fear. This place is the crossroads of fate. Whether we fall into hell or move to the future, everything depends on this match. No need to falter. We'll show them how weak our claws are. 10, 9, 8. Boss, leader. We are very grateful for the both of you to have led us in this battle. Rimuru, Hajime and the others heard the countdown that decided the fate of the rabbit people. The nobles of the kingdom had no doubts. The speeches of the two different ethnic groups were intertwined little by little. The party has just begun. Tonight, eat and drink and dance until you feel satisfied. This will be the best blessing for my son and daughter-in-law. Let's raise a glass. When Gaharudo announced that, everyone in the hall raised their glasses, and he filled his glass with wine. And, Su, he let out an ambitious breath and began. The same goes for the telepathic side, once again, exactly the same. Burning up, sortie, oh. 4, 3, 2, 1. And, the final reverse is over, the unity of mankind will become stronger after this marriage. There is nothing to fear. We are glorified mankind. For glory, 0. Pray for our luck on the battlefield. And at that time, all the lights went out and the banquet hall was engulfed in darkness. End. Rimuru look in this chapter Akame looks.